Today we're going to look at exactly how to become more resilient. Welcome back. First off, if you're new here and you want to learn more about resilience, how to deal with your emotions and everything to do with mental health, then please make sure you subscribed and turned on the notifications so you know each and every time I post a video. So this is the last of a 3-part series. In the first video, we tackled exactly what resilience is. If you haven't yet watched that video, then make sure you go back and watch it before you watch this one. The second video was about authenticity and understanding that resilience must be underpinned by understanding who we are, what we need, and how to communicate that. Once we understand what resilience means to us and we start to recognize our own authenticity, then we are able to start to build upon our resilience. So we have to firstly understand what it means to us, what it is that you need to be able to move forward in your life. So we're not talking about keep going no matter what. We're talking about understanding what we need in any given situation. Now, what we need in any given situation may need to be to take a step back. And that's really, really important to understand that resilience is not to keep moving forward all of the time, no matter what. Resilience is about doing what we need within the moment to ensure that in the long run, we can keep moving forward. And sometimes that does mean taking a step back. So that comes back to the authenticity, which is in the second video. But to quickly summarize again, that's understanding what I'm feeling, understanding what I need as a result of what I'm feeling, and then being able to communicate that within my activities. And again, this links back to knowing when I need to be a little bit tough, but also knowing exactly when I need to take time off and when a step back is the best thing for me to do. So once you understand them two things that we've learned in the first video, what you should start to do is start to look at the adversity that you've faced within your life. Now, we've all faced adversity. You may look at your own adversity and think that it's kind of minimal in comparison to other people. That doesn't matter. It's still about looking at those challenging times and going over what worked and what didn't work. And then also looking at our day-to-day activities and looking at when we're peak performing, when we are performing at our best, what is it that we're doing? So for me, I've started to realize that structure and routine really, really helps me to perform at my best. I've started to understand that though I do crave validation from other people, my best way to recharge is alone and away from everybody. And that's what really helps me to recharge my batteries. Now, you might be somebody that needs to be around people in order to recharge yourself. So it's about looking and understanding what I am doing when I'm at my peak. And then on the flip side, also understanding when I'm struggling, looking at what drives that. Now, there's processes that I go through when I work with people that help us to unpack that stuff. But it's really, really important. If we want to build on our resilience, then we do need to review things within our lives. What I've managed to create is something that I call the 4A framework. Now, the 4A framework is acknowledge, accept, alter, and act. This is about becoming proactive in the way that we approach the ways that we feel and proactive in how we approach our resilience so that we're able to draw upon our resilience more proactively. Now, I think what most of us do when we look at the 4A framework is we fall down on the acknowledge and accept. If we are struggling with something, we just pretend that it doesn't even exist. We won't even acknowledge it. And then we don't realize how much of our day-to-day energy is taken up hiding and running away from that feeling or emotion or whatever it might be. And then for a lot of us, once we do acknowledge it, we then struggle to be able to accept it. So if we look at something like anxiety, for example, I may start to acknowledge that I'm feeling anxious, but then rather than accepting it, I start to fight against it. So I think I'm not going to be anxious. And then I'll say things like, I'm a waste of space. Why am I anxious now? I shouldn't be anxious. You need to stop being anxious. This is ridiculous. And then so much of my energy is taken up trying to convince myself that I'm not feeling what I know I'm feeling because I can't accept it. The power comes back into our hands the moment we accept it. Now, it seems like a very subtle shift, but the moment I say, okay, I'm feeling anxious, then I'm no longer fighting that feeling of anxiety, but now I'm in control of it. And then I get the opportunity to alter and to act. Once we've acknowledged how we're feeling, we've accepted what we are struggling with, then we have the power and the ability, rather than fighting and trying to keep everything going on in the background and eventually reaching some kind of internal burnout, we are now in control. So we then get to alter what we want to do. For example, with anxiety, rather than that consistently beating myself up and shaming myself for it, I take control and I'm able to alter this and say, I'm going to use this anxiety to spur me on. And I do that when, for example, I go and public speak. It's not that anxiety is not there, but I will validate it, allow myself to feel it, and then say to myself, actually, a lot of this is to do with excitement. This is to do with the fact that I care. And then I'm able to go on and create a new story. Now, the way that I was able to create this 4A framework, that, by the way, we can use in small things that happen in our lives, but we can also use it on the much bigger things that have happened in our lives too. The acceptance part is the really important part, because what a lot of us try to do is alter how we feel without accepting it. Once we accept it, we validate it, and then we move through it, which gives us the ability to be able to then alter it. And anybody that knows my story, and it is across a lot of my other videos, in the weekend that I had with my children where everything changed for me, it was the first time I ever acknowledged that I was struggling with the ways that I felt. And it was the first time that I'd ever accepted them. And the moment that I accepted them, I then gained control of them, and I was able to start refocusing what I do. The very same thing that drove me to the point of suicide is the very same thing that drives me to the point of success today. When I talk about seeing my dad in some of the ways that I did, I feel that emotion. I accept that it makes me feel sad. I accept that it makes me sometimes feel angry. I accept that it sometimes makes me feel lonely. I accept all of those things. I don't change them. I don't pretend they're not happening. I accept them, and then I'm able to take the power from that emotion and use it to drive me into my success today. And so much of what I do is about changing my dad's legacy. And then lastly, when it comes to resilience, it's about building up our toolkit so we've got the things there that we draw upon. So in my toolkit, for example, I have my routine and my daily routine, and anybody that knows me, and there's videos on this channel and throughout my social stuff that I do, talking about the routines that I use and how important and vital they are for my life, because I know that when I implement those routines that are built around safety and self-love, they give me the platform to be able to go forward in my life and do the things that I do. I also have people within my life that I know that I can reach out to for help, and I have more than one person for that. The reason I have more than one person is because I know there are certain things I won't talk to certain people about. So it's important for me to have almost like a team around me, but that team is literally under 5. It's the close, tight-knit people that are around me. So building on the things that work for you, exercise is huge for me as well, and mindfulness has changed my life. I'm going to do a whole video on exactly what that looks like for me. But building these things into our lives and making them important then allows us to be growing every day and building upon our resilience, so that when we face adversity, then we have big opportunities to learn and to grow from these things, because we are proactive. We've got ourselves set. And so then when they come, it's not that they don't make us struggle. It's not that they don't sometimes make us need to take a step back, but we know that eventually we can learn from them. This has been how to become more resilient. It's a very personal thing, and I can't teach you exactly how to do it. But whenever I work with people, it is essentially about trying to bridge the gap within them to know themselves better so that they can build upon their internal resilience. Thank you for listening. As ever, if you've liked this video, then please make sure that you've liked it, and I will see you next week.